everybody, this is Geneva, and I want to share with you what I created for, well, I see it masculine, but it could also be for a lady, so it's maybe non-gender, but it's really pretty. The technique is not new, but it is my take on how to make a card using the technique. They're calling it triple layers, triple stamping, triple play. Again, it's not new, but it was fun and not terribly difficult, and I am going to share this with you along with, again, how I made this particular card. First you have to decide what size of card you're going to do. I'm working with 5x7, so I have a piece of 5x7. I did mine in ivory because the colors are beachy. You'll have to cut 3 pieces of your the color you want to stamp on, and then 3 coordinating mats. Let's get out a little wider here. For a 5x7 card, the color that you're going to stamp on, you'll need 4.5 by 6.5, 3.5 by 5.5, 2.5 by 4.5. And of your matte color, they need to be 1/4 inch bigger. So the large one is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. The next one is 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And the last is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. And when you're done, they stack up just like this. And you know that in itself, the matting, I guess, isn't too bad, especially if you were using pattern paper in the background, but we're not. Let's take these apart. Now you can be a fussy crafter. I'm not. Put this on grid paper and make sure you get everything all square. I don't. I tend to just use my eye, which generally is pretty good. So I'm using ATG, just putting a little bit in 2 directions so it doesn't twist when I'm stamping it. Now I'm going to stamp all 3 layers. Some people don't. Some people want to leave the center plain for their sentiment, but I'm actually creating a scene, so I am doing all 3 layers. Okay, I blew it already. Okay, back up and edit. Okay, I inked the edges, and we'll do that now. I used Tim Holtz Distress Ink tea dye. And use a light hand. You don't want this color to dominate. You just want to highlight the edges. Or at least I do. Okay then, now to get these ready to stamp, I put some ATG on the back. I do it in 2 directions so it won't twist on the twist when I'm stamping. I tried just putting it on one way and my paper just twisted all over the place. Okay, now I'm going to use tea dye again to stamp the background. And I have this Stampin' Up! Beach set that I got off eBay. It is, what year is it? It says 2005. But it's pretty, and I love the beach. Now I took the big sentiment stamp, and this is what I'm going to use for the background. Now, backgrounds you want to be in the back, so don't put your ink on too heavy. So what I've done is I ink up my pad, and then I just stamp off and start kind of in the center and work your way. Oh, you know what? This works better with a mouse pad under it because of the layers. So let's do that. Okay, background's done. Now the next thing I'm going to stamp is the big chair at the bottom. Now as you can see, this stamp has a cloud on it. I don't want that. I tried it and it didn't work because the cloud's totally in the wrong place. So I'm going to take walnut stain and ink up just the chair and the grasses underneath. And as you can see, I do it by applying the ink this way. Load it up good. This is your focal point. Make it good and dark. Now I leave this loaded with ink. Find my bottom corner, and I line up the stamp with the block with the corner, not the stamp itself. Straight down. Lift it up, and there you go. There's your image. Don't worry that it looks a little broken up, because once it's separated with the other papers, it just won't matter. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to use is brushed corduroy to stamp the birds. The birds here and the seagulls here. They're both birds, but okay. The flying birds. Now this is a Tim Holtz, one of the Tim Holtz stamps. I think it's one of the Journey stamps. depending on how dark you want your birds is whether you stamp off or not. Now I'm going to. I like the brush corduroy color, but it's a little dark, but tea dye was too light. So here go my birds up in the corner. Straight down and up, and there they are flying off into the sunset. Or sunrise. Now the seagulls on the sand. Again, I'm going to use brush corduroy. And just determine where you think they ought to be. For me, right here is like a good spot. It feels like they're pretty big and they should be kind of close up, but not terrible close. They're not as far away as the birds that are flying away either. So I did that brush corduroy at 100%. Didn't stamp off any of the ink. See that pretty good. The last thing I'm going to do is my sentiment. And because I know that this is what I'm going to do and this is where I'm going to put it, I'm going to stamp my sentiment either here or here. And I am going to choose, maybe we'll put it at the bottom this time and bring the twine up and see what happens with that. Oh, this is a Stampinup stamp. It's from the set of Whimsical Words. There you go, no light. I am, bit by bit, getting my stamp collection up. Okay, so I'm using walnut stain. Picked it up real good. And I'm going to put this right here. Straight down, straight up. There we go. Okay, it is now time to build the card. We don't need the inks anymore. We don't need the inking tool. So here's my card, and it's going to sit this way. The first thing I'm going to do is put down this top layer. Use whatever adhesive you're happy with. I like the ATG gun for this. It's fast. I don't have to wait for glue to dry. I don't have to spread glue out to make sure it's even. It's just my preferred way of attaching these layers together. And there's all kinds of ATG out there. You don't have to use the Scotch. Now, as you're doing this, when you're creating your layers, make sure you get them the right side up, as in the same way you stamp them. or you will be really unhappy with your results. Alright, ATG acetate. Now, I have a backup. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Alright. Now your last piece, don't take the third layer down, but you do want to build that layer. Go. Now I have a seashell that I'm going to be using. I'm going to tie it with raffia. This is too bulky as it is, so I'm going to just tear a strip off of it, and this stuff pretty easily comes apart, but not always in the length you want, so take it slow. Alright, that ought to be a good length. Now, since it's a shell and it's got to lay in a particular direction, I'm going to thread the raffia through. Now, if you're just doing a button or something, you know, you can just leave 6 inches or so at the end and then do your wrapping. I need to make sure this thing lays exactly the way I want it to. Good twice around the block. Now I'm going to use a piece of tape to hold it down in the back, just to make sure this isn't going anywhere. Okay. More. Okay, now if you want here, you could lift these up on dimensionals, and on this one I did, but I think this one I am not going. I think this one has been lifted, but I am not going to on this one. I'm just going to put it right down, and I line up with this chair stamp. It's the biggest one. Okay, now I like to finish my insides, so I am going to go in here and get this little shell stamp. I'm going to bring back my mat. And I'm going to use tea dye because it is the lightest color. I am not going to ink it off though. I'm just going to put this where I like it. There we go. So that leaves room for a sentiment of your choice. Now I really like this sentiment that we stamped on the front. It says, "Memory is a child walking along a seashore. You never can tell what small pebble it will pick up and store away among its treasured things." And I think it's just a good anytime. So I'm going to put that here. And if I had stamped that before I put the third cover on, it would have been easier to do. But okay. Now the envelope, I just used the seagulls and put them across the back. If you want to do some front stamping, of course you can. I'm just going to leave it plain with just the birds on the back. There you go. Really, really simple. They're fun. I can't, you know, there's got to be unlimited ways you can lay your stamping out. So, I hope I inspired somebody. I know somebody inspired me. I hope you all have a good day. Have fun with your card making.